Good morning, Boquete. Good morning, Chiriqui. Welcome to the show. This is Talking with Your Doctor with Dr. Shannon Tour. Today's show is a little bit abbreviated because of problems with communication with our sister station in David, but we're finally on the air. And today I have Al Stefanelli, and I also, good morning, Al.
Buenos días.
Buenos dias. I also have Melody Ford here, and I want to thank our engineer, Bolivar, for making the show possible today. He went to a lot of work to get us all connected and on the air again. I'd like to thank Roger for lending us his little radio station for the morning now. I've got Melody Ford, as I said. She is in charge of Panama Mail. A new mail. Is it new? It's pretty new.
It's new. Yes, it is new. And we are the only door-to-door mail service for homes and businesses. And we actually deliver. In other words, we're trying to bring Panama into the 21st century.
Trying to make it like a USPS type of deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where you actually get your mail delivered to your home.
In an actual mailbox.
In an actual
mailbox. At the end of your driveway.
At the end of your driveway.
By mail deliverers.
By mail deliverers. And we went through a transformation, so to speak, because we realized that when we started out with the $500 fee, that was a lot for a lot of people.
Right.
And not only was it a lot, but the way we were going to use cluster mailboxes meant that you almost had to depend on your neighbors in order to
because you're going to do it for each neighborhood, kind of. You're going to put a cluster of mailboxes at the entrance to a neighborhood and then have each person rent their own box.
But now we have changed to doing individual mailboxes at the end of your driveway. And that way you don't depend on neighbors if you want to have mail delivery.
Contribute to the cluster of mailboxes.
Exactly.
And you've also lowered the fee some.
Oh, definitely. They've drastically come down. We have different plans. For the person, and keeping in mind that the registration fee always goes towards your shipment. So we have it where if you wanted the lowest possible fee monthly, then your registration is $250, and of course
it's like a deposit almost.
Actually, it's not the deposit. The $250 is to register you, because we have to get you into the system. We have to know how many people we're serving. So we have to make sure you have a mailbox. We give you an address. So all of that the registration takes care of all of that. And you just pay half when you apply, though. So you pay $125, and then you have a monthly fee of $30 a month. Okay. Then you have a plan where you can pay $100 registration. Let me make sure I get all of my...
$100 says, and then you have a $45 monthly fee.
And then you have a $45 monthly fee. And we have a plan for retirees, and they pay $150 registration fee. Half of it, of course, is at registration, and then the other half is once you get your mailbox and start delivery. And their monthly fee is $25.
$25. So you do get quite a bit of a discount as a retiree.
Yes, you do.
And how do you charge? Is it packages by weight? Do you bring in packages one?
Yeah. Oh, now if you go to the website, you can. We have our fees listed.
Okay.
On the package, and right off the top of my head, I just
is it like remember. Per pound? Is it for volume?
Per pound. It's per pound.
Per pound. Okay.
Yes, it is.
And the
per
actual
pound.
mail, the correspondence, is that also per pound?
No. Your regular mail, whether it's magazines, letters, cards, that's just your regular mail. Okay. You don't get charged for that, only for packages.
Okay. Yes. And is it a Panama address or is it a U.S. address?
Well, as we start out, everyone is going to be given their Panama address, because eventually down the road, that's your address. That's your address for emergency. If you have to call fire, police, ambulance, anything of that nature. But right now, the mail it will be your name, and the person will address it to Panama Mail, and and it comes to the mail center. We then know who you are because it's in your name. The letter's in your name, and we find out. We look up your address. Once the system is in play, then it won't have to say Panama Mail. It will just say your name, your address, and then all of the mail.
So right now everything goes to you, which is Panama Mail.
Right, and later it will come to us. But first of all, we have to be established that that's where everyone's mail is coming.
Okay.
And it will say Panama Mail, but then they'll have their own address on it.
Okay.
And people, and it will let the carriers know. Okay, that goes to the building, and they will be the ones who deliver.
So Panama Mail has its own address in the States that things get delivered to
Yes.
and then get forwarded
Yes.
to you guys here at
And-
Panama Mail Center.
Right.
Okay.
And what we're really working on, but we cannot do it now because we have to first establish the fact that we have delivery, is
Right.
having Amazon bring a fulfillment center into Panama City.
Right. And that was talked about for a while.
Yeah, well, and I think the only drawback may be that because Panama right now doesn't have an address system,
Right.
etc. But once they see that yes, people do have addresses and people can get delivery, and we will see to it that everything is delivered.
They may be
Then
more willing.
they'll definitely do it, but you have to establish and show that yes, people in Panama do have addresses, and it'll make it much cheaper because then people don't have to pay that heavy
The
shipment
delivery,
fee
yeah.
to
And there's
come
some
in.
items that even if you've got a U.S. address, some items still will not ship to that address,
Exactly.
being a forwarding service.
Yeah, and we have our own. For example, we have our own mail center in the U.S. Where everything, if anyone from Panama ships it, if it has to go there, because there are places that will not ship straight to Panama,
Right.
they can ship it there, and it comes straight to us. So there's no chance of anything being lost somewhere in a warehouse.
So you don't have like one of those normal forwarding addresses.
No, we
Okay.
have it. If you go to our website, you'll see our Georgia office. Everything goes there,
Okay.
and then they send everything here.
Okay.
So there's, I mean,
They
we
have an actual street address, almost like a house address type of thing. And
It
then-
is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then Amazon doesn't have a reason, or other companies don't have a reason to deny sending it.
Exactly. So if it's something that's difficult like that, for example, I had a problem with something that I sent from Amazon, and they chose to use, I guess, UPS. And I had a hard time. I finally just had to cancel that order.
Right.
And I told them, please put it in my records. Do not use the UPS as a carrier because you just won't get it.
Okay.
They really get
They won't deliver. Yeah.
right.
I had a problem that Amazon just wouldn't ship it.
Yeah,
and it was
they
like
have
a ring system type thing with spotlights, and they just refused to ship it to.
right. And those are things, and there are going to be things on Amazon they will not ship because there are no addresses and there's no definite place. So
Right.
Amazon stance is they have to have a place that they can say they delivered it.
Right.
And
someone signs for it.
Exactly.
Right.
So if it's in the U.S., there's no problem at all.
Right.
Things that we know are difficult, we send it to our Georgia office, and our Georgia office ships it through us through DHL, and DHL is really reliable.
And if I were to do an order on Amazon, and would it automatically be sent to your Georgia office, so I wouldn't have to worry that it wouldn't get sent here?
You would have to put that
I would have to specify Georgia.
in your address where you have
Okay.
your list, because I even have that. I have in my address with Amazon, I have the Georgia address as well as the Panama address.
Okay.
Some things, depending on what it is, will ship, but they usually tell you before you check out
Right.
if it won't, and if it won't, then I switch it and send it to the Georgia address, and then they'll send it to me.
Okay. So the Panama address is an actual Panama address.
It's actually, Panama Mail,
Uh-huh.
Plaza San Francisco,
Mhm.
21 Calle Central,
Mhm.
Boquete. And that
Okay.
is the actual address. And if you go online,
And
that's,
some
that's
things will be sent and some won't.
no, there's nothing that you cannot have sent here.
Okay.
No, because if whoever the sender is will not send to Panama,
Uh-huh.
then you just have to send it to the
The
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay.
And then we say, I mean, I've had even supplies that will not ship to Panama, so I simply ship them to our Georgia place.
And the problem here is we don't have a zip code.
Well, you know, we use the postal code right now,
Uh-huh.
and that's all part of it. It's going to take maybe
Right.
5 years before we're actually totally established as a total postal system,
Uh-huh.
because our postal code is 0401.
Okay.
But we want to make it where everybody in a certain province has,
Each one has their own.
their
yeah.
own zip code. So
Makes it a lot easier to figure out where to send it.
yeah. And well, see, right now it's easy because if it comes to Panama Mail,
Uh-huh.
we know where to
Right.
deliver it. So right now they only have to worry about getting it to Panama Mail, and we are established as that mail center
Uh-huh.
for postage delivery. So
Okay.
they will do that.
And it has to go through customs and all that kind of stuff before it gets here.
It does.
Okay, so there's
It usually
separate
takes
customs.
3 to 5 days.
Okay.
Anything that you order package wise,
Mhm.
and depending on what it is, it takes anywhere 3 to 5 days. I have to say that the things that I have ordered usually get here before the date they say
Okay.
that it is. If they tell me it's going to be here on Monday, it usually gets there Friday.
Oh, wow, pretty quick. And if there's multiple people inside of one household, do you add those names to the account, or do you have to order or receive mail only under that person's name?
Only under that person's name.
Okay.
I mean, if there are multiple people, then you have to register multiple people.
Okay, so
Because
if it's,
otherwise we don't know those people are there.
uh-huh.
And we won't deliver to a place that is not registered to a name.
Uh-huh.
So if Jose Gonzalez is registered at this house,
Mhm.
but there are 5 other people there, we will only deliver if the package says Jose Gonzalez.
Okay, so if it's a husband and wife, they would each have to have their own account.
Or they could do Mr. and Mrs.
Okay.
If everything comes as Mr. and Mrs., we'll do it as one.
Uh-huh.
However, if you have individuals where the husband is receiving certain mail and
Uh-huh.
the wife is receiving certain,
In their own
then
name, then you have to have two.
then
Okay.
they both need to be registered.
All right, so you're located in Plaza San Francisco right now.
Right
You have an
now.
office there, anyways.
Yes.
Right now. So anybody that wants to register should go visit you at that office,
Mm-hmm.
or give you a call at this number here, 6481-7030, or they can email you at, or they can get more information at panamamail.net.
Yeah, that's our website, and
Okay.
actually any information, we have a question and answer page there also.
Okay.
So they can also register on, and the fact that's where they could register. They could also
Uh-huh.
come to the office and register.
Okay.
So it's either way.
All right, sounds good. And if they're way out in Jaramillo somewhere, you got people that deliver all the way out there?
Well, now if it's way out and it's a dirt road,
Uh-huh. They have to go to the
they
office.
may have to come into the office.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes it's kind of hard. The vehicles have to be a certain type of vehicles.
Exactly.
And it can be kind of dangerous if you don't, and it's raining, and
Mm-hmm.
multiple situations.
Exactly.
Well, I would like to thank you for coming on and telling
And
us a
thank
little bit
you
about
so
the...
much for having me here.
It was a pleasure, and I'll definitely be in contact to get some more information from you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
you
you,
all
and I
have-
hope you have a great weekend. And everybody go visit Panama Mail and go get your mailbox, well, your address. You're registered to get your mail. How about that?
Yes, we're trying to put Panama on the map. Everybody needs an address. Get an
Yeah, we
address,
need a mail
get-
system here.
Exactly. Get your address.
Help me
get
out
your
here,
postal-
Al. I'm tongue-tied. All right, Melody Ford, thank you very much. Go visit Panama Mail. Get registered.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Talk to you. Well, that's interesting.
It is.
That's
very.
exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. PanamaMail.net.
Oh, PanamaMail.net.
Don't go to PanamaMail.com. Those people they're bad. They're evil.
I don't know about
I don't know who they are. Actually. No idea who they are. But.
Thank you, Melody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Al, you didn't even help me out here.
Well, I would have, except I don't care. No, I'm only kidding. I would have, but I was getting a flurry of texts from some of my customers. So.
Oh, well, good. You're staying busy.
Yes.
I was getting my own text before the show started, but well, that's interesting. Yeah, to make this actually work, this mail system actually work, people actually have to go and register themselves.
Yeah. And I tell you one thing, where this, sorry about that, where this would come in way handy. If you've ever tried to order anything from Apple, they will not, in any way, size, shape, or form, ship anything to a freight forwarding address. I had to run my daughter all over Atlanta to find an open Apple store during a pandemic to find what I wanted, and then have to ship that to my freight. It took like 3 weeks for me to get it, and it was $50.
Right, it's not cheap to bring stuff in either.
Yeah, so if this is if they have a regular address in Georgia, well, you can just and there's a lot of companies that won't ship to a freight forwarder.
Yeah, I mean, even on Amazon, the individual third-party sellers
Won't. Yeah, some of them won't either.
Yeah, they won't ship either. I was surprised. I was trying to bring in some Ring spotlights with video cameras on them, and they just would not ship it.
Yeah, same thing with a lot of the tasers.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable, but a spotlight?
I know, right?
I think we tried to get something for one of the cars, and they wouldn't ship that either. I don't know. It's not.
It could be, it could be handy. So yeah.
Yeah, it could be. As long as the rates. I mean, I guess the more people that register, the rates will go down.
Yeah.
But it sounds pretty good that your registration fee is getting used during the year to pay for your deliveries.
And the retirement option is good for people who are actually retired here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only thing that was kind of, the problem is not being able to add people to your address that live in the same house with you that are family.
Right.
That you'd have to have two separate if you wanted to receive something in your name.
Yeah. And I'm still not. Maybe we need to ask our, if there's 4 people in the house, is that 4 separate registration fees, or you just have to give them the name?
No, she seemed to indicate that it was different registration fees. You had to,
okay.
But I don't understand since you're at the same address.
Yeah.
But she said the only way to get around it is if you're married and it's a Mr. and Mrs. So in your case, if she wanted to order something for herself, Mr. and Mrs. Al Stefanelli or something like that.
Yeah. That's kind of hard to do when you're ordering something, though.
It is, because they don't put that in the address.
Yeah. I don't know,
they'll figure it out.
Yeah. There's always going to be, bugs and glitches in any new business. So I wish them well.
I mean, it's like that with any of the freight forwarding too. I can get stuff on certain ones, but other ones, unless I register with my own account information,
right?
Even though you're not paying a monthly subscription, you still have to have your own account to get it. So it's kind of the same thing. Don't worry, I don't think it's going to attack you. So, interesting stuff coming out. They're coming out with an antiviral pill for COVID.
Yes, and contrary to what I've been reading on social media, it is not a cure.
Not a cure.
And it is not a...
doesn't prevent.
It's not a preventative. It's given to people who have been diagnosed with COVID recently, within a day or two.
Yeah, because it's same as with the Tamiflu.
Right, and it reduces the possibility of severe symptoms, hospitalization, and the possibility of death by about 50%.
It's actually, let's hope this goes through. That would be excellent.
Yeah, but it's not like a pill version of hydrochloroquine,
no,
zinc, and ivermectin and all that.
It's more comparable as an antiviral. It's more comparable to
like Tamiflu. Yeah.
I saw a lot of people online. Aha! It is a flu. No, it's not a flu virus.
no, but Tamiflu is a specific type, but it it works in a specific type of
Right.
way. So I mean,
Right.
it's a good comparative, but
Right,
you know,
it works
correlation
on that
does not
particular
equal-
virus.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't really say, okay, well, if you've got using an anti-flu pill, it's an anti.
Yeah.
No, it's not a flu. It's a different illness
Yeah.
altogether within a different, s- to lack of a better word, species
Yeah.
of virus, and it only will work on COVID
Yeah.
as far as we know.
So basically, we're still using the social distance,
Yeah.
mask, alcohol,
Yeah.
wash your hands, preventative,
And a vaccine, if you can get
And a
it, get your
vaccine,
vaccine. Yeah, because even with the flu, you still got to get your vaccine, and if you get the flu, hopefully it won't hit you as hard.
Yes. And a vaccine and an inoculation are pretty much the same thing.
Exactly the same.
Exactly
thing.
the same thing. I was reading a tweet by someone who didn't want to get the vaccination, and someone had said to him or her, I can't remember, you know, you vaccinated when you had to go to school, and the guy responded back with, I did not get a vaccination, I got inoculated.
Which is same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and a lot of people say, well, you know, it's unconstitutional to do it, and as we know, the Constitution actually upheld a decision
Yeah. Yeah.
that the greater good of the community above the individual
Yeah.
for at least one particular case in Minnesota.
Yeah, that was a while ago, back in the '60s, I think, wasn't it?
Or even earlier or something like that. And while it's not held true in all cases, you know, they're talking about pandemics and endemic type of things.
Right.
Where it's something that is affecting the health of a great number of people.
Sure.
They ruled that it was constitutional to require vaccines, you know, especially for working and
Yeah, sure.
going to school and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not to say that, you know, it's okay always to force people, and if you have a valid reason why you can't.
And a valid reason. But you know
Valid.
what? There's still, like United Airlines, for example, okay? They've got tens of thousands of employees, probably more. And they put a vaccine mandate on their flight attendants. and
Right.
pretty pilots, you know, anyone's going
Right.
to come in contact with the public. And people had, obviously, you know, there were objections, and people chose a
Right.
religious exemption.
Right.
Now, United Airlines is allowing the religious exemption, but there's a caveat to that. You get suspended
Right.
without pay.
Without pay.
So, you know, they're not going to fire you, but essentially you've lost your job.
Because you can't go to work
Because you can't
until
go
you
to
get
work.
vaccinated.
So now, last I read, out of all the United employees that are subject to this mandate, there's under 600 of them that could possibly lose their jobs. So, you know, it's one of those, I'm never going to get the vaccination for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then when someone says, well, then you lose your job, well, then all of a sudden they get their vaccination.
Right.
So.
I mean, there's some that have actually a valid reason that they cannot.
Sure, yeah, and then,
Allergy,
absolutely,
illness, or something that
Yeah.
prevents them from being able to get that vaccination. There are exceptions in place for that, but really, religious is not. So it's a lot harder to get a religious exemption than.
Yeah, I mean, people claim it, and then they, you know, there's a process for approval on that, and I don't know what that process is, but it's very easy just to say that. As I mean, if you have a legitimate, you know, that's a whole other thing. But you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, will be saying that just to try to not have to
Yeah.
to do this. So there is a process and an approval process
Right.
for that.
It takes a while.
But there's still a consequence. Every decision
Yeah,
has consequences.
consequences.
And you know, your
Well, like the
consequences.
police force, I can't remember what town it is that's requiring their officers to be vaccinated by yesterday.
Yeah, it's,
And if they don't, then they get fired.
yeah. There was one guy who resigned, 30 years plus. You know, resigned because of that.
And, you know, they say, well, with all the officers that aren't getting it and are going to get fired, well, that decreases the readiness for the police department and so on and so forth, and it's going to affect the citizens.
Yeah.
Well, it also affects them if the police officers are infected, have to stay out for a week or whatever until they recover.
Or if
and the
they're
rest of-
asymptomatic and they end up affecting everyone they pull
Everyone
over
else,
for a
yeah.
broken taillight or something, you know?
You don't, you know, you've got to take that into consideration. Kind of like the smallpox outbreak with George Washington, where he
Right.
required his
His-
troops, and he had submitted the request to whoever it was, Congress or whoever it was, to approve that smallpox vaccination should be mandatory for the troops for readiness purposes. They were going to lose
Sure.
all their troops if they got.
Oh yeah.
I mean, smallpox was a lot more deadly.
Well, look at the situation with healthcare workers. You know, there's. I'm trying to wrap my head around how someone who's in the healthcare, especially like emergency care or whatever. I'm not talking about admins or whatever. You know, doctors, nurses, people who are in contact with people who are already sick. You know, how they would get around justifying not being
In an ICU,
vaccinated.
maternity wards.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Maternity wards.
complications with that. You know, if you're admitted to the hospital, you've got issues, right? And you know, on the one hand, you hear a lot of people complaining about hospitals that are in developing nations. You know, well, it doesn't appear to be sterile. You know,
They're scared to go to them.
they're scared to go
Yeah.
to them because they're afraid that, you know, health and safety protocols that they may be used to in their passport country aren't being followed in developing nations. Not
Right.
just Panama, but, you know, wherever. But yet, the same breath, you know, they're willing to go to a hospital in a developed nation that's staffed by people who
Could
admit
spread.
that they are, you know, not doing this and can potentially cause a lot of damage.
Whether
You know.
they're asymptomatic, whether, you know, you're dealing with people with
Yeah.
immune systems that are affected, and they don't want to be treated by someone that could kill them
Yeah.
potentially.
And yeah, we know the vaccine is not a cure.
Not a cure.
You
It
know-
doesn't prevent 100%.
No, but it does significantly lower the viral load, as you explained to me, and
Right.
reduces the opportunity to spread the contagion.
And
Right,
people
right,
argue,
sure.
well, I already had COVID, so I'm protected. I don't need to get
Yeah,
vaccinated.
but it's not about you.
Well, no, it's also
It's about the people that you're around.
But it's also not just that. They are finding that people that had less severe disease are not as well protected.
Right.
So they can get reinfected, they can get really sick, and they can end up dying the second infection.
Yeah.
So you can't just go by, well, I've already had it, I've got lifetime protection, you know, I'm Superman.
Well, there's a
It's like, here's your kryptonite.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a belief that is in the communities in the world here that once you get COVID, you're protected for life. You
Or against all strains. You're super protected because you've already been infected.
Right.
Not true.
No.
Not true.
No,
You
I
need to
mean-
still get vaccinated.
Even if you get chickenpox, you can still get shingles.
And you can get chickenpox twice.
Chickenpox twice.
Yeah.
Double the fun.
Especially if the first time it wasn't that severe.
Yeah.
You can get it again. So, you know, the whole myth that once you get a virus, it won't repeat,
Yeah, no.
not true. If you get dengue is a virus caused
Yeah.
by
Mosquitoes?
a mosquito. You could get dengue again, which is why we have hemorrhagic dengue, because you've gotten the infection twice.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't get reinfected. You can, and it can kill you.
Yes, it's a nasty one.
It is a nasty one. I
Yeah.
mean, there's other nasty ones too that aren't quite as contagious. Ebola
Well, yeah.
and those kind of things. The swine flu wasn't as contagious. It killed
Yeah.
more people. It was more deadly, but it wasn't as contagious as COVID is. So
And the thought process, I guess, you know, comes from the prevalence of misinformation. You know, and you
and we've
got-
talked a
yeah.
lot about misinformation.
Yeah, and you know, I understand. Really, you know, people want information.
Yeah.
They want to do their own research, but doing your own research in many cases is great. You know, you want to move to an area that has good schools, right? Or you want to. You wanted to do research on what kind of car to buy. You go to Consumer Reports or whatever, but there are some things that, many things, especially in the field of science and medicine, where the research that you can do on your own is a minuscule part of the research that scientists and doctors, as you know, had to go through to gain their knowledge.
We had to know disease at the molecular and cellular level.
Yeah.
We had to understand that to be able to understand how medications, how vaccines and
Yeah.
stuff work. It's not just reading an article that says, hey, this many people were protected, this many people weren't, this was waning after this many months, and then all of a sudden you're an expert. No, you have to know how the body works to be able to understand better. You know,
that's true. That's why
that's why we have doctors.
that's why we have doctors, and that's why that saying exists. A person who represents himself as a fool for an attorney.
There you go. There you go.
You know,
I can't trust myself to treat myself either.
Yeah.
I have to go to a doctor if I get sick.
Yeah.
I can't just treat myself. I wouldn't even think about treating a family member in an area where, my emotions might be affected.
Sure. Yeah.
You
Well, it's a
know.
conflict of interest.
It is.
And that's
I can stop blood flow real quick. I can help with an injury or something like that. But, when you're dealing with life and death, don't touch your family members.
really, seriously. Actually, I probably shouldn't be touching your family members to begin
Well,
with.
that's don't go.
That's a whole other show. Right?
That's a whole other show, yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously though,
That's one with psychologists. And psychiatrists.
and by the way, I'm gonna have Dan Gallagher on my show next
okay,
Friday.
good.
He
Good.
wanted to continue on the conversation that you had on your show with him
Oh, it
last
was a
week.
great conversation. Yeah, we had a lot of fun that day too. Yeah.
But yeah, the prevalence. There's a lot of efforts being put forth by both MINSA, government organizations, social media companies like Facebook, to try to combat some of the misinformation that's out there, or even the incomplete information. And I can't, obviously I can't, and I'm not ever going to try to speak for the Panamanian government. I'm a guest here, even though I'm a resident. But some of the comments and the posts that show up on Twitter and Facebook and even TikTok and Instagram, whatever, reveal that there's a great misunderstanding in the difference between a government mandate like the First Amendment and a terms of service agreement from a private corporation.
Right.
There's
A private corporation, you're
and as big as they
free
are,
speech does not.
as big as they are, Facebook is a private corporation.
Right.
And when you open up an account there, you click a box
And you agree.
agreeing to the terms of service for membership into
Which
their
is this long
organization. Yeah.
in tiny letters that you
And-
need.
Yeah, and
a
the
microscope.
argument that, well, nobody reads it
Yeah.
may be true, but legally it's an invalid argument.
Just like I might not have known that road back there is 15 kilometers an hour, but that's not an excuse for the law. Ignorance
No.
is not an excuse.
Yeah, ignorance is no defense.
Yeah.
For that. So, if Facebook or Twitter or any of them say, here's our rules, we're not going to allow you to spread information that we have deemed through these authorities to be false, inflammatory, or whatever. They can ban your account,
Right.
close your group, or do whatever.
They can
And you
put
can
you
get
on
it-
hold for a
yeah,
while, put you
you-
in Facebook jail.
You can
Yeah.
get as angry as you want, but
Yeah.
you agreed to this.
Yeah. You can laugh,
yeah.
you can get angry, you can talk about your free
Yeah.
speech and
Yeah.
your liberties and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But
And even in North America, even in the United States, the First Amendment only applies in federal government situations. It doesn't apply to private corporations. It doesn't apply to you can't scream fire in a crowded theater.
Right.
That's not free speech. That's
Right.
inciting a riot. So this is why if you represent yourself in a lawsuit, you have a
Yeah.
fool for an
Yeah.
attorney. And it's the same thing with the medical.
And don't think that Panama doesn't crack down on these. Don't think that they don't get, don't think that they don't go through Facebook and
No,
check.
they have accounts. They
Yeah.
have. If you look, as a matter of fact, some of the groups, if you look at the membership list, and you click on individual names, you will see they work for MINSA. They work for Ceneproc, they work for, whatever agency. So they're monitoring,
Yeah, they monitor the misinformation. They monitor the expats.
especially expats,
Yeah.
because constitutionally we are not permitted by law to get involved in
government,
protest
right?
or speak negatively of the government.
Right.
And there are
You're
people,
not allowed to influence government decisions,
Yeah.
government mandates.
and there have been people
That have been-
deported
yeah,
that have been
deported,
thrown out of the
fined,
country for that, or fined.
slapped
yeah.
on the wrist, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't do that. And just because a Mensa building, which I read a comment, oh, but they've got overflowing trash cans, it's dirty, it's, cracked walls and falling ceilings.
It's not a hospital.
Yeah.
It's an administrative
Yeah, it's an administrative area. And guess what? They're pretty high tech. And maybe not this one here in this province,
Yeah.
but the headquarters in Panama City, where the old military hospital
Right, yeah,
was, is a huge, huge building.
Yeah.
With very expensive, very good equipment. They monitor everything from weather to planes to,
Sure,
everything
yeah.
coming in and out. They have contingency offices. I have a friend that works for the contingency office. So they have very, very sophisticated equipment and
Yeah.
people that work for them. So don't go by the look of one building and say, oh,
No.
they're not going to find me. They're not going to
No.
do anything. And yes, they do have authority from this emergency situation we're in to make decisions. So don't think that they don't have the power.
No, they do. I mean, you look at you go into any major city in the United States and Canada, and you go into a hospital. Oh, it's great, it's fantastic, it's pristine.
Yeah.
But then you go into the interior or rural areas, and you see the clinics and little hospitals
Right.
there, and you're going to see the same thing.
Yeah.
It's about
In Canada, ambling into the
yeah,
clinic,
so it's the same thing with anything really. I mean, you go
Yeah.
into a neighborhood in Canada, the United States, or Germany or anywhere that is most of the people that live there are middle class and upper middle class, and the schools are fantastic, but you go into poor rural areas and the schools are falling down.
Yeah.
And these are locally operated
Exactly.
on a municipality level. So
Exactly.
the Mensa office in Dolega might not be up to the same standards as the one in Panama City.
Right.
But it's still a Mensa office.
Right.
And they still have access to the
And
same
remember,
technology.
these are
and the same things.
administrative offices. They're not hospitals and clinics. These
Yeah.
are administration purely. So, yeah, Panama is not just a little po-bunk community. It's got some sophistication to it. So, don't speak badly about the government, especially if, you're planning on staying.
And I know that Bolivar's got that look in his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, shut up!
He's getting
But-
anxious. He's like, cut.
But I got a text from Melody.
Okay.
Melody Ford. She says, anyone can apply for discounts with Panama Mail. If multiple people live in a house, we can apply a discount that works for them to have the 1 monthly fee, but everyone has to be registered. So
Okay.
she did clarify that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Melody. We appreciate the extra information there. I guess
Yes.
we just didn't make it clear while she was here, but
Yeah, no problem.
all right, so I guess we have to wrap this up. It's 11 a.m. and Bolivar is going to cut me in just a second. So I'd like to thank you for joining me on Talking with Your Doctor, and we'll see you next week with Boquete Health and Hospice on the show.
Nice.
Have a great weekend.